First ever game at Ole Miss, he sets the school record for receiving touchdowns in a game.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Flow podcast. We're your hosts, Austin and Andy. We're recording on April 9th. What is this, like 2 weeks before the NFL draft? Super excited. There's a lot to talk about. We haven't really talked NFL news in a while, Andy. We got some other projects in the work, things that we've been working on. There's a couple news items that we'll get to, but first things first. I got 5 questions for you. 5 questions off the rip, rapid fire. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Pick one of these quarterbacks for fantasy football this year: Jordan Love or Matthew Stafford.
Oh, Matthew Stafford every day.
It's got Devontae Adams. Yeah, I like it. All right. Same question: J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold for 2025?
That's a good one. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold just because of Cooper Kupp and JSN. Yeah, that's a great one. That's tough.
All right. Switching gears, we got Cincinnati Bengals over or under 10.5 wins in 2025.
Oh, give me the under. Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. Where are they getting these numbers from?
11 games with that defense? Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Question number 4. Cleveland Browns over or under 4.5 wins?
Man, I got it. That has to be an answer for after the draft. Right now,
Right.
I'm going to say over.
Yeah, because, right now they're rocking with Kenny Pickett as their QB1. So I feel like that's going to change by week 1, but it might not. We'll see. Last question, question number 5. What is a more exciting play? The tush push or a regular QB sneak?
Neither?
No, you got to pick one.
They're the same?
They're the same amount of exciting to you.
Yes. I guess the quarterback sneak, just because they don't have to necessarily go through the same gap as the tush push. They can go through whatever is open, and a player like Josh Allen is going to be able to reach over that line. A player like J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray,
Yeah.
they're going to have to run to get that line and to get that first down instead of reaching over.
Okay, that's a take. Yeah, I say that because that seems like the biggest topic of conversation that is filling the void that the NFL has in this area of the calendar where we're at. Everyone's talking about the tush push, and they're talking about the tush push because there is a large effort in the league to ban the play. Seems like a lot of teams are, they've signed up for this idea that it's not good for the game. Maybe not fair. I don't know. It seems like they can't really get their story straight. Everyone wants to ban it for a different reason. And at the owners' meeting, they tabled that conversation, but if it's only tabled until like next month. So they were going to have this conversation all over again. The league will, as to whether or not to ban the play. So, Andy, I want to get your take on it. I feel like you and I haven't really talked about this. I could tell by your thumbs down that you just gave me that you don't think it should be banned. Is that true? And if so, why?
I think it's ridiculous to think it should be banned because it's a variation of the QB sneak. It's something that is new, inventive, and it works. And apparently, this is getting tabled next year. I heard this is getting tabled next year, not next month, because they had a vote on it. The owners had a vote, and it was a 50-50 split. That's crazy. One team brought this up, and then all of a sudden 15 other teams are like, oh, yeah, I agree with Green Bay. Like, what? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
No, this play should not be banned until proven otherwise, until proven of injury, significance, risk to the players. I mean, a QB sneak is already dangerous to the center and to the nose tackle and to the, you know, it's already a dangerous play. What just because now the quarterback has somebody behind pushing behind them, that now it becomes even more dangerous?
Right, right. So like Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, he came out and he said that, well, we need it's a safety issue. We should really ban the play. And they told him, well, okay, no one's been hurt on the play. And he goes, oh, well, I know no one's been hurt, during a tush push play, but it's about preventing future injuries. Like we don't just want to wait until injuries happen. We want to prevent future injuries. And I just think if we want to prevent future injuries, like don't let your players step onto the field. Like what are we talking about? Preventing future? It's football. Shut up and play football. I'm pretty heated about this, but like I said, everyone seems to have a different reason why they want to ban it, and one that I hear a lot of fans talking about, who are not Eagles fans, by the way, they're fans of other teams. They think that it's just a boring play, and they want it banned. And I don't understand that at all because if the Eagles or the Bills, and by the way, the Bills ran it 4 times against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So Sean McDermott thinking, it's not safe. Well, it's safe enough for him to run it 4 times. Uh, no, a lot of these other teams they want it banned for a lot of different reasons, but yeah, the fans think it's boring. And my problem with that is, say it's 4th and 1. Okay, if you can't do the tush push, you're just going to do a regular QB sneak, which is pretty boring, or the offense is going to leave the field and they're going to punt. So it's like that's the most boring thing, it's just another punt. So I
Right.
I don't the QB sneak, not an exciting play. The tush push, not really an exciting play. I think it's like cool and innovative that they found something that it is working at just an unprecedented rate, but it's not really fun to watch. Like I'll grant that, but like it's not being replaced with like triple options and like
Right.
hook and
Right.
ladders. It's not being replaced by a Hail Mary. Like it's being used on the goal line and on 4th and 1. So uh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't ban it for player safety. You can't ban it because it's boring. The only good argument that I've heard is, and I haven't even verified this in the actual NFL rule book, but I have heard that defenders are not allowed to push their teammates in the back. This kind of came to a head on like special teams plays where you're trying to block the thing. Like they've had players try to like push each other, assist each other somehow to try and block a kick. Well, they put it in the rule book that defensive players can't do that. I haven't verified that, but the only valid argument that I've heard for banning the tush push is like, well, the defense can't push their teammates. Why can the offense? So like, okay, that is kind of a fairness issue if that is truly the case. What do you think about that, Andy?
I think, like I said earlier, the QB sneak is interesting because it depends on the quarterback. Kyler Murray is going to have to wiggle his way through, go on the outside. It's not even a QB sneak for Kyler Murray. It's like a run and slide, try to get it. Where Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, Tom Brady, we've seen that those taller quarterbacks, they just like lay on top of their offensive linemen and just keep on chugging
Yeah.
with their legs to push through. So I think it just depends. The Yeah, that's kind of all I have with that one.
Yeah, that's fine. I think like my best counter argument to that, if I were to defend the tush push even more, okay, so say the offense does have an unfair advantage. Why aren't 32 teams running the tush push all the time? Like if it is a broken play and the offense has this great advantage and it's like automatic, like why isn't every team doing it? Maybe it's because they don't have a quarterback built like Jalen Hurts. Maybe they should get one for these situations, right? He doesn't have to be your
Yes,
starter. You
yes.
just bring him in. I think the Ravens have done this with Mark Andrews a couple times. They have him line up under center for those plays like that. Um, and they have Lamar Jackson. So it's like,
Right, right.
yeah, just get your
Yeah,
biggest guy who isn't afraid of contact at all, dishing it out or taking it, and you just have him fall forward for a yard. But like we aren't seeing 32 teams do this. So to me, it's like the Eagles should be rewarded for finding a creative, innovative play and for having the personnel to pull it off. They've prioritized their center. They prioritized the rest of that offensive line infamously, right? Like Jalen Hurts making like 50, $60 million a year. Like this is what they've chosen to be elite at, and they're beating you with it. And the answer is not to alter the rule book. Like that's such
Cop
an
out.
yeah. It's you're just admitting that you've been bested if you're complaining about the rules, in my opinion.
Right. Right. Yeah. Go find yourself a D tackle that knows how to play fullback, knows how to get that extra 1 or 2 yard. I don't know. Just putting that out there.
I like it. In other recent NFL news, this happened a while ago, but like I said, we haven't really sat down and talked shop in a bit. So let's talk about Russell Wilson signing a 1-year deal with the New York Giants. It looks like the Giants found their quarterback for 2025. Russell Wilson's found a home. He does not go back to Pittsburgh like you and I kind of both thought he would. I don't know what that was about. I kind of think Mike Tomlin wasn't about it. I talked about this in a previous episode, but Russell Wilson, he was just so conservative, just such a check down Charlie when he played with them. And he managed a lot of games. Some of them he managed to victory. Others he just, when they were down, it was like they had nothing. So I don't know. How optimistic should Giants fans feel? Like, yes, they do have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They have an adult in the building now in that QB room. But yeah, how excited should they be?
Yeah. If I'm a Giants fan, huge upgrade. Go from a bunch of nobodies to Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and you still get Tommy DeVito. I mean, I'm excited about that. And you could get another quarterback, whether that's in the first round, second round, in this upcoming draft. The door isn't closed there.
Right.
Funny how Russell and Justin Fields get the same contract essentially on the two New York teams, both after just going to Pittsburgh for 1 year. I think that's hilarious. Really
Yeah.
shows you how the rest of the league values those guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Like, I'm not too disappointed with Russell. I'm not too disappointed with Jameis. I'm not like jumping up and down, but I'm thrilled that we got some competency back there. If I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah. Yeah. And you still have the number 3 pick. So, yeah, it doesn't make it so that it would be dumb to take a quarterback at 3. I think they still could. We'd be talking about Shedeur Sanders, basically. Jackson Dart is another name that's on the rise, but top 5 seems rich. Yeah, I don't know. There's talk now. It seems like they're leaning towards whichever one of Travis Hunter and Jalen Carter, but they could always trade back into the first round with their other picks, or they could move down, accumulate more picks, and take a quarterback somewhere else. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to track because now they don't need a quarterback, right? So it's like they're freed up to do whatever they feel like, which is exactly what you want of your team going into the draft. You want to be able to take best player available. You want to have the freedom to kind of take it as it comes, as opposed to being like, okay, well, we absolutely have to draft this position. So yeah, that's good. If I'm a Giants fan, I like that. What if I'm a Malik Neighbors dynasty owner, or if I'm a huge Malik Neighbors fan, I want to draft him in redraft. Now that he has Russell Wilson, I don't know. He is kind of a check down Charlie, conservative guy, takes a lot of sacks, but it's still an upgrade, right, over what they had last year. So is this a net positive for Malik Neighbors?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, anything was a net positive over Daniel Jones. So
Sure.
yes. Russell Wilson gets benched a couple games in. You got Jameis hucking the ball up, and guess what? Instead of Jameis is going to take sacks, but he's going to throw interceptions. So you have
Oh yeah.
you have a Key and Peele situation either way, right?
That's a funny analogy. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a good time. You know, you
Yeah,
don't know how
yeah.
well they're gonna do, but yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, everyone was saying, "Oh man, with Jameis Winston a quarterback, that's just fantasy gold." But yeah, I don't know if he'll ever start, but we'll see.
Right.
And other QB news, our boy Geno Smith, not our boy anymore, but he got a new contract from the Las Vegas Raiders. It was much anticipated. A lot was talked about the contract that the Seahawks would or wouldn't give him. And yeah, he got the money. What was it? 37 million per year for 2 years after
Yeah.
this year. So there's a lot of guarantees in there too. You know, it's not that 40 million number that was floated out there earlier. It's 37. Not all of it's guaranteed, but a lot of it's guaranteed. It feels like it ties him to the Raiders for at least 2 years, probably three. Um, so yeah, I think this is huge. I can get my take, and you can give me your reaction. But I think this is great. I think Pete and Gino, that's just a match made in heaven. And Gino's old, but he's not too old, right? Like it's a 3 year deal. He's gonna be fine. Okay, he's 35. Matthew Stafford was 38 last year. Like he, that's not too old. That's not disqualifying you from playing at a very high level. And that's exactly what the Raiders need. Like we talk about how much of an upgrade Russell Wilson is for the Giants. Like Gino is going to be a massive upgrade for the Raiders at the quarterback position. Very exciting for them. Exciting for Brock Bowers. Um, Man, that receiver room is thin though.
Very thin.
Hopefully they address it during the draft at least a little bit. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about Geno specifically, like for fantasy, because he had some nice receivers in Seattle. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. He comes to a brand new OC as well. Last year he had Ryan Grubb that loved throwing the ball over the yards, so all over the yards. So I don't know necessarily how much that's going to translate to the new OC will translate to fantasy as well. I don't really think the Raiders O line is that great. They gutted their defense. They lost like I think if they don't perform on offense, the defense is going to have to really carry the load, and I just don't know how well that's going to work out for the Raiders. So
Yeah.
that all that being said, this is great for the Raiders for the next year and a half, next year, 2 years. Honestly, though, if Geno slips up at all, if the team starts slipping up and Geno takes the blame, which that happens every time, no matter if it really is the quarterback's fault or not,
Mm,
they're gonna have to go a different direction. I mean, it's a great contract in the scheme of things, money wise,
yeah.
compared to others, but it doesn't. There leaves no room for error. If he slips at all, they're going to be calling for his head.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in the Raiders organization. It's like their ceiling is about what the Seahawks ceiling has been for the last couple seasons because that team is not good. They're like I talked about their receivers, but like on defense, they don't have any cornerbacks. They don't have any running backs. It's the team's a ways away. It feels like, and you just signed a 35-year-old quarterback to an extension. So the timeline doesn't necessarily match up, but that's kind of what I was saying earlier this offseason is that it feels like it's a very kind of zoomed out sort of like CEO evaluating a company sort of feel where it's like, okay, we're going to establish a culture because the Raiders have been totally lost. I mean, like they moved to Vegas, they hired coaches, fired coaches all the time, and it's just like, okay, this is a massive reset. We have Tom Brady, we have Pete Carroll, we have Geno Smith. These are all adults who know ball, who don't get into any trouble off the field. They do things the right way, and this is just about setting the tone for the future of the franchise moving forward. That's kind of how I see it. That's a pretty optimistic spin, but I mean, Gino's just a great guy, and I think him and Pete, that operation is going to run smoothly, and so I think they're setting things up for the future, despite his
Yes.
age. Yeah, I
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
like that.
It's getting a bunch of adults that can get results. They might not be
Ooh,
the top end results, but
that needs to be on like a banner or something. Adults that get
mm,
results.
ooh, good band name.
The NFL draft is in 2 weeks. The dynasty community, they're talking about nothing but rookies, and we're gonna dip our toes in there, right? This is the Fantasy Flow podcast, and looked into these rookies. We've got some opinions that we're ready to share. We got some rookie my guys that we're gonna hit y'all with. Andy and I have each prepared three my guys, and we're going to talk about these prospects, why we love them so much, why we want our favorite teams to draft them, why we think they'll be good for fantasy. Andy, do you want to kick us off?
I would love to. This one is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to go Travion Henderson. I had to really write that out on my piece of paper here. Running back for the Ohio State University. Man, I've been watching this guy for a long, long time. Loved him on the field for a very long time. 4-year starter. Just a couple notes for him real quick. 4-year starter. Averaged 123 carries for those 4 years, out of those 4 years. At the combine, he ran a 4.43 on the 40. Yeah, great speed, breakaway speed type of player. A 4.43 on the 40 and the combine. Just another show of character. Ryan Day explained that he called Travion and told him that we should bring in Judkins from Ole Miss, or I forget where exactly he's from, but he called him and asked him if that would be all right because he knew this was Henderson's last year and he was going to go to the draft afterwards. So, and he said, "Yeah, bring him in. We need to fill this room with the best running backs we possibly can." And sure enough, they go and win a championship. So to me, that just shows the type of person he is, the character. And I think a really good comp for Henderson is like a David Montgomery or Nick Chubb. I looked up Nick Chubb's stats of his body weight, height, everything during his combine. Him and Nick Chubb, except for like 20 pounds of muscle, I know that's kind of a lot, but everything else was the same. Broad jump was the same. 40 time was Henderson even has a faster 40 time than Nick Chubb. And when we think of Nick Chubb in the NFL, we think of just breakaway, like get through the gap, and he is just gone. Like the fact that Henderson is a little bit faster, when I see Henderson run, those are the two players that come to mind: Nick Chubb and David Montgomery.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, 20 pounds is kind of a lot, and that would explain the faster 40, right?
Right.
Like when we scout these players, the height and weight, really, when it comes to running back, the weight is very important. The speed is very important, but those things are correlated, right? So like, really, to truly scout a player, you need a good ratio of speed versus weight, because like one guy who weighs 165 can go in there and run a blazing 40, but when it comes to running back, you need power, and that's mass times acceleration, right? So yeah, Travion Henderson had a great, they call it weight adjusted speed score. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, he had one of the best in the class as far as running backs go of weight adjusted speed score, and you absolutely see that on film. His breakaway speed is probably the best in the class. And yeah, when I think of Nick Chubb, I think of a guy who has a little more meat, a little more power. But yeah, no, I definitely see the comps there after they get through that first level. Yeah, very similar, very similar. And I also love Travion Henderson. I love that note about how he's just so unselfish that he kind of came back for a 4th year and to win a championship, and he was like, "Oh, I have to share the backfield with another rock star running back." Like, it's so not about him, you know. He's like, "Yes, that will help us win a championship," and they did, which is just, it never works out that way, you know. All the times players, they choose to come back for one more year to win a championship, and then they don't win, and then it's like, "Oh, you should have entered the league last year, kid. What were you thinking?" I love that. And another note about Travion Henderson, one of the best running backs in the class in pass protection, which again speaks to his selflessness. He puts his body on the line, and I've seen that multiple places, that Travion Henderson is just very unselfish when it comes to pass protection and being asked to do things without the ball in his hands. So yeah, I like that pick. He's consensus top 5 running back. Different people have him ranked different places. He's in my top 3. And I'm going to hit you guys with another rookie running back. He's not in my top 3, but I'm way above consensus on this guy. His name is R.J. Harvey from UCF. R.J. Harvey, he's 5'8", 205 pounds, ran a 4.4 flat at the 40, and he was the 4th fastest in the class. In 2024, he had 1,577 rushing yards, sixth most in college football, 22 rushing touchdowns. That's fourth most in college football. Um, like I said, he's not really in a lot of people's top five, despite all these stats. And I think that's because he just turned 24 years old. Usually, that's kind of a bad sign when a rookie is entering the draft at 24. That's like, okay, well, he didn't really dominate until he was like 2 or 3 years older, more experienced, more physically developed than his competition. That's not going to be the case at the next level. But there's an explanation, as there is with a lot of these players in last year's draft and this year's draft. There was that weird COVID year, right? So everyone lost a year. Also, RJ Harvey was a quarterback in high school. He was originally recruited to be a quarterback. That's why he spent the first couple of years of his college career at a different college. He was like a backup quarterback, and then he transferred to UCF to play running back. Okay, kind of finally figured it out, and then he tears his ACL week one. So he had to wait a whole nother year to even get carries. And so last year and this year, he played a full season. So he has back-to-back years of just awesome production. Yes, he's an older prospect, but I don't care. I think there are great explanations that I just laid out. And his tape is just so fun to watch. Like, when it comes to running backs, I prefer the running back that has a bag full of moves and he can beat defenders in multiple ways. That's what I see with RJ Harvey. He Yes, he can put his head down and he can punish defenders, but he also has a juke move, a jump cut. Like, he's very decisive and he beats defenders in a lot of ways. Very exciting player at a UCF. Hopefully, I'm thinking he'll be like a third round pick, and I just hope he goes to a team that thinks of him as a potential starter and not just as a RB2.
Yeah, I'm looking at his draft combine results. They project him to be a backup. I mean, look at a great example for this is like Bucky Irving, right? Like, he got drafted by Tampa Bay to be the backup, and then he outplayed Rashad White. Like, I think if RG Harvey gets drafted to the right team and shows his spunk, shows what he can do, shows that he's the better of the two, better of the three of the committee, he's going to be the lead back. Maybe like somewhere like the Giants that don't have anybody back there, right?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Right? Like that, I could easily see him fitting into that role, starting off as a backup, playing special teams, maybe even a punt kickoff returner, and then they're like, man, we got to get this guy the ball some more.
Yeah. I think it's only a matter of time. Maybe it's the color scheme, but he reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara in just his measurables. And I really hope he just follows that path, right? Alvin Kamara was like a third round pick, and he was drafted to a team that already had a couple of running backs, and the rest of the fantasy community was kind of scratching their head like, not sure. But then, yeah, he's just undeniable, and Kamara did it through the passing game. That's how he got on the field, and I feel like RJ Harvey doesn't really have a hole in his game. He's not going to be that like big like short yardage back. That's probably the one knock, is just he is only 205 pounds, similar to Travion Henderson. But
Right.
yeah, no, it's a loaded class for the running back position. RJ Harvey's one of my favorites. We'll see what happens on draft weekend. Do you got a wide receiver to share with us, Andy?
I do. His name is Tez Johnson. He played for Oregon these last 2 years. Before that, the previous 3 years he was over at Troy, and he didn't do anything over there. He was bottom of the barrel. So for him to come to Oregon and basically have back-to-back exactly the same years. I looked at his stats in Oregon. He was only two or three receptions away from each other of those years, about 200 yards away from each other. In both years, he scored exactly 10 touchdowns in the passing game. I think that is just so cool to have somebody that is going to be that consistent. Because of that consistency, because of that year-to-year dependency,
Yeah.
he really reminds me of a Tyler Lockett. He's a very small player, and when Tyler Lockett got drafted, he was looked at as just a punt returner, just a kickoff returner, really nothing else. And Tyler Lockett transformed his body and transformed his game into somebody that is going to be dependable and reliable and catch the ball and go down and not get hit in crazy ways. I think if Tez could watch Tyler Lockett's film and learn how to catch the ball, secure it, go down, get a couple extra yards, but go down and protect
Sure.
yourself for the longevity and that reliability. I think that would be a great learning lesson for him if he hasn't been doing that already. One little side note about Tez Johnson is his mom gave him the opportunity to go live with Bo Nix's family. And I think this is just such a great story that his mom told him, go live with the family, go live with the Knicks family, have a better life. And he did. They were high school buddies. They were high school teammates. And he moved in and he learned and got to live with Bo Nix for a couple years.
No, I think they actually adopted him. I think they technically adopted him.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, that's the direction I was going. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Dang, I stepped on your story.
No.
But yeah, how crazy is that to just play catch with your quarterback every day?
Exactly.
It's awesome.
And then Bo Nix gets drafted. This brand new quarterback comes in, Dylan Gabriel, and guess what? Like I said, he has the exact same season. A couple catches away, a couple 100 yards away, 10 touchdowns, same exact with Bo Nix. I mean, if that doesn't show that he can join any team and become a reliable pass catcher for your offense, I don't know what does.
Well, I'm very excited for him, and if he goes to the Broncos, that'd be even more exciting. Get reunited with Bo Nix. I think near one of the later rounds, if he's still available, the Broncos almost have to take him. Like that. That's just so cool. Man, he is 165 pounds, which is very small. Used to be that made you like almost ineligible. It was like, oh, this guy's gonna die in the NFL. Like that's how teams thought about these players. And
Right.
then Devonta Smith won the Heisman with Alabama, and he was like 170, and it's kind of like, what are you going to do with him? He just won the Heisman. And then, sure enough, first-round draft pick and now Super Bowl champion, like undeniably productive. So the tune is already starting to change when it comes to that in the league. A more recent example is Tank Dell, who weighs the same as Tez Johnson. Tank Dell had success. He's also had some injuries, so maybe that goes both ways. But I think he will get an opportunity. And 10 touchdowns back-to-back seasons with different quarterbacks. That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I got a wide receiver. Very different player. Same position, but like not the same position. I'm talking about Trey Harris, wide receiver from Ole Miss, 6'2", 210. Okay, he's the heaviest player we've talked about, and we've talked about two running backs. Trey Harris, he ran a 4.54 40-yard dash. And just like R.J. Harvey, Trey Harris was a quarterback in high school, and he got a slow start to his college career. He was under-recruited because he didn't play the right position. I get it that every athlete wants to have the ball in their hands every play, but like you just got to figure it out sooner. Otherwise, you end up like Trey Harris, who was at a completely different college, a Louisiana Tech, for 3 years, and then he was able to transfer. And the things that he was doing to his opponents and Louisiana Tech's opponents was so silly. He was being given so many offers to transfer wherever he wanted. He basically had his pick of the litter. He went to Ole Miss. I think that was like the local like team that he grew up rooting for, right? So he goes to Ole Miss. First ever game at Ole Miss, he sets the school record for receiving touchdowns in a game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he scored 4 touchdowns in that game. In 2023, he averaged 90 yards per game, and he went over 100 against LSU and Penn State, and he went over 200 receiving yards against Texas A&M. 2024, he averaged 129 yards per game, and he went over 100 versus Kentucky and LSU again. He beat up on a lot of bad opponents too. And then, in 2024, he he pulled a groin muscle, I think, and his season ended a little early, but still, like, he's just an amazing electric outside wide receiver. He's only 6'2", but he plays so much bigger than that. And yeah, he just burns guys deep. And it's just undeniable. I love in a class that seems to have a lot of smaller slot wide receivers. He's a guy who plays exclusively on the outside that you can trust to just go take the top off the defense, beat the defender, and he's not a one-trick pony either. Like, he can run the whole route tree, in my opinion. Big fan of Trey Harris, and I hope the Seahawks get him.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I'm not gonna lie on that one. Yeah, they NFL says comparison of Alec Pierce. What's your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, good for them for not seeing race. Yeah, Alec Pierce, I believe the measurables are probably there. You know, Alec Pierce is very fast. He's above 6 feet. I know that. By no means is he like a skinny burner, you know, like some teams have. Yeah, that's a very interesting comp. I think a lot of people like to go to like AJ Brown, DK Metcalf because of the Old Miss jersey. But the truth is he's not that big. He's not that big and dominant like AJ Brown is. But man, I don't know. When he takes the top off the defense and scores a 50-yard touchdown and spikes the football, he looks a lot like A.J. Brown to me. So
Right,
I
right.
don't know. I don't hate that Alec Pierce comp because I think Alec Pierce is really underrated, but I think he has a higher ceiling for sure. He just turned 23 years old, so another one of these older prospects. But like I said, QB in high school, under recruited. You know, he spent a little too much time in Louisiana Tech.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't really care. I think he's phenomenal, and he's definitely going somewhere in the second round.
Okay. I have my last guy is a pretty obvious one. I'm not gonna lie. It's easy to write down, but I also diving into him, I also found out some interesting stuff that I hadn't really realized about this guy. I'm talking about Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Again, a little bit of biases here. I watch a lot of Ohio State, so therefore I see him play with Penn State against Ohio State, and of course he just dominates. I started really tracking him this past year, just because it just seemed like every time you watched a Penn State game or heard about it, this guy was mentioned. And sure enough, it was because he was doing everything for this team. But funny enough, this was his breakout year. This was his only year of any significance, any production, was just 2024. Just this year alone, he had 104 catches, over 1,000 yards, over 1,200 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Everything before that was combined was less than what he just did this year. So definitely a one-year wonder in that sense. We've seen that on the quarterback side with like Zach Wilson comes to mind. So that's the one knock, is it was just a 1 year
So he was
wonder.
getting starts, like he was still the starting tight end. He just wasn't getting
Featured.
used in the same way. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he is a consensus top 10 player in this draft. So, you know, people way smarter than us, they're not knocking that against him. So I won't either. But yeah, I didn't know that. I just assumed that he had been doing this and that this was the year that he declared for the draft. And so this was the year to just shower praise on him. But no, that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
I would say that's a knock. Just to see only 1 year of production like that, it was major production, but that's a little nerve wracking. He did go against great competition. Heck, they made it pretty far overall in the season. They had a better record than Ohio State. So I kind of looked at him. I know this is an easy cop out, but I kind of looked at Travis Kelce as a good comp. Travis Kelce was terrible in college. He was not great. He had like a terrible grade at the draft, and then he gets to the NFL and he kills it. I
I mean,
think
he was
Tyler
still
Moore.
drafted. He just wasn't drafted early. Like, what was he, like fourth or fifth round or something?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
drafted really late. Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean, there wasn't a lot of hope for this guy coming into the draft. And I think if he didn't have this breakout year, I think that he would be in the same boat. So, yes, he did have this breakout year, but I think you put him on the right team with the right coach, he's going to show that he deserves to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting about Tyler Warren. I definitely learned some things there. Like I said, he's a consensus top 10 player, but that doesn't mean he's going to go top 10 because it's kind of difficult for tight ends to get drafted in the first round. Now, Brock Bowers, what he did last year, I think that's doing Tyler Warren a huge favor because teams don't want to miss out on the next Brock Bowers. They don't want to miss out. And Tyler Warren, I know it was 1 year, but it was this most recent year, which is always a good thing.
Right.
He got better and better as the years went on. And yeah, it was electric. He had the second most receiving yards among tight ends in college football. Yeah, big Tyler Warren fan. I got a tight end for you before we get out of here. And it's a very different prospect than most of the guys we've been talking about. The guys we've been talking about have been in the league, not in the league. They've been in college football for a long time. This is by far the youngest prospect we're going to talk about. Tight end Mason Taylor from LSU. He's my guy for this rookie draft because I love what I see on film. Probably more so than most people that I've really, most people's research that I've listened to. They say that he doesn't play up to his size. I don't even see that. You look at the stats. He literally, I think, less than half of the receiving yards that Tyler Warren had. But he's at LSU, and LSU just doesn't use the tight end very much. I think he finished with like 600 receiving yards this year. He's a true junior, so he's played 3 years of college football. Most receiving yards was this last year with, like I said, 600. And he is LSU's all-time leading tight end in receiving yards and receptions. So he's like the greatest tight end LSU's ever seen. And he's still 20 years old. So, like, I love that. I love a guy, he came in at 18 and he's a starting tight end. And he played one season at 18, another at 19. And then this year, he's 20-year-old season, best season that he's had. What I see on film, I see a guy who's 6'5", and he catches everything, massive catch radius. And he turns around and he immediately looks for a defender to, like, just hit. Like, he's got that dog in him. That's what I see. And he's only 20. So, like, Mason Taylor, I feel like he's probably going to get second-round draft capital. But it's probably not all going to come together year one, right? Like, he is just 20 years old. I think NFL teams love him as a prospect, but he is a guy who's like a developed. He's like a wait-and-see guy, which is pretty common when it comes to tight ends. Tyler Warren will probably be the exception. But, yeah.
Right.
I love what I'm seeing out of Mason Taylor.
They have a comparison of Dallas Goedert, which I think, from what you're talking about, fits the bill pretty well. They project him also as a second year starter. So give him a year to learn, and then the next year he'll be a starter. And like you said, they also say second round. I don't know. I know second round it's a pretty high price, but for somebody that could fill that position for the next 4 to 5 years and be your go-to tight end that is always going to be there and that can do blocking, that can do pass catching, I think it's worth the price.
Some people are saying that he doesn't have too high of a ceiling. I kind of like that Dallas Goedert comp because it's kind of conservative. Like, you can't just throw out Travis Kelce for every tight end as like a high-end comp. I kind of like that. Some people are saying, oh, well, his measurables, his testing. It's like, well, he didn't really do all the tests at the combine. Like, he didn't run a 40, for example. I think he just felt like his body of work was sufficient. I think he's got a really high ceiling, and he's got the genetics, too. His father, Jason Taylor, defensive end in the Hall of Fame. He's got the genes. He's got the work ethic, you'd hope. He's grown up. He's been around the game his whole life. So, he's my guy. Very excited for him. And I'm excited for this draft, man. Seahawks, they got a first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and 2 third-round picks. And I know I was kind of talking crap about that earlier, that, like, yeah, they're all, like, late, though. Like, you know, it's not...
Right.
It sounds better than it is, but, like, now that the draft's getting here, I'm a little more excited, and I think there's a realistic possibility that the Seahawks make some moves on day 1 or day 2 and really shore up the roster, maybe even snag a couple of these guys. Who knows?
Yeah, there's an interesting take out there that I heard was, what if we traded down to the Chiefs' first round pick, so the 32nd pick, so we give up our 18th, but we get the 32nd and we get the 64th. We get their first and their second round pick. I don't know. That seems like a little bit too, giving up a little bit too much value for not a lot back. But I do like, and I hate the fact that we would give the Chiefs any advantage at all. But yeah,
Right.
I mean,
No.
trading down doesn't sound terrible in my mind, no matter who it's to.
Right. So John Schneider loves to trade down. So like it could definitely happen. It's so dangerous, like predicting trades, because it's just like
Yes.
we know nothing. Like it's literally down to one guy. His name's John Schneider, and whatever he's feeling like, you know, so that's tough. But I have heard that a lot, that the Seahawks could be trade down candidates because the positions that they need, like interior offensive linemen, those guys are rarely taken top 20. You know, it's like
Right.
positional value wise, it's quarterbacks, it's receivers, it's edge rushers, it's guys who,
Sure.
when they get to their second contract, are really expensive. So you get, it's a very smart financial decision to draft a guy at one of those high value positions in the first round. If we are going to pick a guard, we could pick a guard with the 31st pick, 32nd pick. Like,
Right.
there's going to be
Right.
great ones available. I know Donovan Jackson. We were doing like skill position players for our My Guys because this is the Fantasy Flow, but Donovan Jackson's a My Guy from Ohio State. And yeah, he would be perfect. I think he'd still be there at 31, 32. So yeah, I would love that. But then we have 10 picks. So if we make that move, now we have 11 picks. Like, do we even have room for 11 rookies on our roster?
Yeah.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Maybe we trade
Probably
back
not.
up and then we get I don't know, 3
Yeah.
or 4 second round picks and we just move all the
Sure.
way back up. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, John Schneider does love the value, but regardless, I think the plan for us is to go live during the first round of the draft on that Thursday.
Oh yeah, if you guys are still with us and you're still listening, I can't think of anything better for you to do, honestly, on Thursday night in a couple weeks than just hang out with us. We're gonna be talking ball. We're gonna be talking Seahawks. We're gonna be talking fantasy football, and yeah, it'd be great to have you. We're gonna try and go live, and just you'll get our live raw reactions to all the picks, and you'll be able to ask us questions, chat with us. Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
Yep. Yeah, tell us where we went wrong. Tell us if you disagree with our My Guys, and if you think these guys that we called out are actually good or not. Let us know.
Absolutely, yeah, and share with us your My Guys, and maybe we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Tell us our thoughts on those guys.
Yep.
Until then, like, subscribe, share with friends, all that stuff. Where we're trying to get our numbers up, so any help there would be appreciated.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at thefantasyflowpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.